My name is Jack. I'm 35 years old, and according to my family, I peaked in high school delivering pizzas. They don't say it directly, not most of the time, but it's in the jokes, the dismissive looks, the way conversations drift to my potential, like it's some tragic punchline. And tonight? Tonight was my mother's birthday dinner. Her 60th. The whole family rented out a private room at some overpriced steakhouse in Buckhead. I paid for it, of course, like I always do. Quietly. Anonymously. Through the same family fund they think was set up by my older brother, Mike. Mike, the dental surgeon. Mike, the golden child. Mike, who hasn't made a single payment on his mortgage in over a year, because I've been covering it. But no one knows that. To them, I'm just Jack. The guy who shows up in jeans, forgets to shave, and hands out coupons to his little pizza job like it's some charity case. I spent the whole dinner watching my siblings laugh at my expense. Remember when Jack dropped out of college to start a business? My sister, Carla, snorted. And ended up with a Domino's shirt? Everyone laughed. Even my mom. I smiled. I always do. Because if I don't, it turns into Jack's being sensitive again. After dessert, which I personally arranged to have flown in from Mom's favorite bakery in New York, Mike clinked his glass for a toast. I just want to say, he grinned, this family has come a long way. Mom, you raised us with strength, love, and, well, a lot of patience. He looked at me and smirked, especially when some of us took the scenic route. More laughter. And then Mom chimed in. She reached for my hand with that passive-aggressive smile I've known my whole life. Jack, I know things didn't turn out quite the way you hoped, but we're still proud of you for showing up. That takes courage. For showing up. That was the moment. The moment it all crystallized. I had just paid for a $4,000 dinner for people who genuinely believed I was a failure. I nodded. Didn't say a word. Didn't tell them that my startup had just signed a 7-figure acquisition deal. Didn't mention the private equity firm I'd quietly co-founded 2 years ago. They didn't ask. They never ask. And I was done trying to earn respect in a room full of people who preferred the version of me that made them feel superior. So I smiled, wished Mom a happy birthday, and left. The next morning, I did 3 things. I logged into the family fund account and disabled all automated payments, mortgage, utilities, car leases, private school tuition. I revoked access to the shared Amex card. I called my financial advisor and said, it's time to let the rope go. No announcement. No drama. Just silence. They would find out soon enough. The first call came from Carla. Hey, she said casually, like we spoke all the time. Quick question, did the family card get hacked or something? It declined at the gas station, which was super embarrassing. I was walking out of my gym. I just finished a personal training session, something I do every morning now that I have actual balance in my life. I kept my voice calm. Not hacked. A pause. Okay, so what's going on? I shut it down. Silence. Then a laugh. Wait, you shut it down? I thought Mike set up the card. Nope. That was me. Been me for the last 6 years. Another silence. Longer this time. Wait, what are you talking about? You know the family fund? The one that covers Mom's rent, your SUV payments, Mike's mortgage, Dad's medical bills? Yeah. I set it up. I paid for all of it. Monthly. Quietly. You're welcome, by the way. She scoffed. You? Come on. With what money, Jack? Tips from pepperoni deliveries? I smiled, even though my heart was pounding. Look at the statements. Look at the name on the accounts. I used a holding company, but if you check it now, you'll see it traces back to me. Another pause. She hung up. I got a flurry of texts right after that. Carla, Mike, even Mom. Most were angry, confused, demanding explanations I didn't know anyone. By the weekend, Mike was at my apartment door. He didn't knock. Just stood there like he expected me to be surprised. You serious? He asked. About cutting us off. I shrugged. It's not cutting you off. I'm just no longer volunteering. You can't just, my mortgage. Jack, you can't just stop. I can't, I said. I did. He ran his hands through his hair, laughing like I was some kind of joke. So what? You were secretly rich this whole time. Not rich. Just not as broke as you needed me to be. Why would you hide that? I stared at him. Would you have treated me any different? He opened his mouth. Closed it. Exactly. By Monday, I heard Mom had to cancel her massage membership. Carla pulled her kids from private school. Mike's car got repossessed in front of his office. I didn't gloat. I didn't even watch. But I saw the cracks forming. The best part? None of them could explain it to anyone else. They'd spent years calling me a charity case. They couldn't now admit their lifestyles depended on the guy they mocked for bringing garlic knots to Thanksgiving. I kept delivering pizzas during the day, partly because I liked the simplicity, partly because I needed time away from screens and meetings, but mostly because nothing humbles people more than watching their idea of a loser keep smiling while their own world starts slipping away. By Friday, Mom called me. Voicemail. Jack, I think we should talk. Maybe come by for dinner? No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a quiet plea disguised as an invitation. I didn't respond. Let them sit with it. Let them wonder. Let them realize the full weight of what they never saw. By the second week, things started unraveling fast. Carla's Instagram, usually filled with beach brunches and hashtagged yoga retreats, went suspiciously quiet. I only noticed because one of her influencer friends DM'd me. Hey, your sister okay? She posted something weird about losing everything overnight. I didn't answer. I wasn't interested in passive concern from people who'd laughed along with her. Mike, on the other hand, had no shame. He showed up again, this time in jogging pants and desperation. I just need a few grand to hold me over until things stabilize, he said, pacing in my hallway. I'm not asking you to cover everything. Just a little help. Mike, I said, you make $300,000 a year. I made $300,000. Now half my patients are canceling because I had to let the receptionist go. I'm 6 months behind on my mortgage. I didn't even know. You were just handling it. That's the point, I said, arms crossed. You didn't know because you never asked. You just assumed someone else, me, would take care of it. And now that I'm not, you're angry? Embarrassed? He slumped onto my couch. I didn't know, man. I swear. I just thought. I don't know what I thought. You thought I was a failure, I said. It made you feel better. No, come on. I watched you humiliate me in front of our entire family, Mike. Every holiday, every birthday, every time someone asked what I was up to these days, and you made some joke about me mixing up Uber Eats with ambition. He didn't deny it. He just rubbed his eyes like the weight of my words hurt more than the reality they'd covered up. You know, I added, I didn't want credit. I didn't do it for that. I just thought, if I could make your lives easier, maybe you'd see me as more than the family screw-up. Mike looked up, and now, I leaned against the counter. Now I want peace. And distance. Is there anything I can say? He asked. You had 10 years, I said. You said everything you wanted to say already. That night, I got another voicemail from Mom. This one cracked slightly in the middle. Jack, I know you're hurt. I know I haven't always made you feel appreciated. But I'd like to talk. Please, just come over. Sunday dinner. Just us. She sounded small. Not manipulative, small. Still, I didn't answer. Instead, I sat in my car behind the pizza shop I still technically worked at, watching the last of the Saturday rush clear out. I wasn't on the schedule anymore. My manager knew the truth. Had known for years. You sure you don't want to take Sundays off? He'd ask. But I didn't. I liked it there. It reminded me who I was before the money. Before the masks. That next Sunday, I finally got a visit from the person I least expected. Dad. He didn't come to the door. He waited outside the shop, leaning on his old cane, eyes scanning the parking lot like he was afraid I'd vanish before he said what he came to say. When I approached, he looked at me, nodded once, then said, Your mother's crying. I didn't say anything. She doesn't cry, Jack. Not even when her brother died. Still, I waited. She thought she was helping you. All those years. Trying to toughen you up. She didn't help me, I said quietly. She made me invisible. He didn't argue. Instead, he handed me an envelope. Inside were photos, old ones, of me, at science fairs, at coding boot camps, sitting behind a tiny laptop in our basement. Your mom kept these, he said. She just never knew how to say it. I looked up at him. He added, You were never a disappointment to me. And then he turned and left. The envelope stayed unopened in my passenger seat for 2 days. I didn't want to look at those photos again. The versions of me where I still believed that effort equaled respect. That if I just kept giving enough, someone in my family would finally stop looking at me like a sitcom failure. By midweek, Carla called again. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice sounded different this time. No snark. No edge. Just tired. Jack, listen. I know we were cruel. I know I was. And I don't expect forgiveness. But my kids ask why they can't go to school with their friends anymore. And I don't have the guts to tell them it's because I spent years pretending I was better than my brother who paid their damn tuition. I replayed it twice, then deleted it. I wasn't looking for apologies. Not yet. I just wanted them to sit in the silence they'd left me in for years. Still, something kept tugging at me, Dad's words, mostly, and that stupid envelope. So that Friday night, I opened it again and spread the photos out on my coffee table. One caught my eye. It was me, about 14, kneeling next to my first homemade PC. Big square monitor, wires everywhere, smile too wide for my face. In the background, you could see Mom holding a phone to her ear, turned away from me. That was my birthday. I remember because she took the call right before the cake. I stared at the picture for a long time. Then I made a decision. The next day, I invited them all to the pizza shop. All of them. Mike, Carla, Mom, Dad. I told them to come after closing. No explanations. Just, if you want to talk, meet me here. Saturday night, 9 p.m. They showed up. Not all together, but close enough. Mike was the first to walk in. He looked exhausted, humbled in a way I'd never seen before. Carla came in next, holding a tote bag like it was a shield. Mom entered last, clinging to Dad's arm like she needed backup. I didn't sit. I stood behind the counter. Not to be dramatic. I just needed the barrier. Thanks for coming, I said. I won't keep you long. They shifted in awkward silence. You've all made it very clear who you thought I was. And honestly, I played into it. I let you call me a failure because it was easier than explaining my life. Jack, Mom started. Please let me finish. She sat back. I didn't help you for approval. I helped because I thought it was what family did. Quietly, without needing praise. But somewhere along the line, that turned into something ugly. Into entitlement. Into mockery. You treated me like a joke while living on my dime. No one spoke. I looked at each of them. Carla, you once said I was a cautionary tale. Mike, you used to joke I was your charity write-off. Mom, I paused. You told people I was still finding myself, even after I'd built a company from scratch. Mom's eyes welled up. She didn't interrupt this time. I never needed thanks. But I deserved basic respect. And I think you all know that now. Still silence. Then Carla whispered, We do. We know. I'm not here to punish you, I said. I'm just done carrying people who won't even look me in the eye when they do it. Mike cleared his throat. What happens now? I'm stepping back, I said. From the money. From the expectations. From being your crutch. And us. Mom asked quietly. That's up to you, I said. But from now on, I want relationships, not dependencies. She nodded slowly. You're right. I was wrong. About you. About a lot of things. I didn't say anything. I just opened the register, took out a plain white envelope, and slid it across the counter. What's this? Dad asked. I looked at Mom. It's your refund. Every dollar I paid for the dinner you humiliated me at. I don't want to owe anyone anything, not even resentment. She didn't open it, just held it tight in her lap. We sat in silence for a while. Then Mike said, What do we have to do to start over? I looked at him. At all of them. You can start by visiting me at the office next week, I said. I'd like you to see where the real Jack works. The following Wednesday they came. All three of them, Mom, Mike, and Carla, standing awkwardly in the polished marble lobby of my office building, trying not to look out of place. I watched them through the glass from the mezzanine level above, letting them soak it in before I greeted them. I own the building. My name's not on it, intentionally, but the security guards know me. The staff knows me. The 27 employees inside the offices upstairs know me as Jack R., founder and CEO of a company that sold proprietary back-end software to 3 Fortune 500 companies last year. They'd never seen this side of me, because I'd never shown it. I rode the elevator down and walked toward them slowly. Mike was in a suit, Carla in a stiff blazer, Mom wearing her best pearls like armor. Jack, Mom said, stepping forward. This place is incredible. I nodded. Come on up. There's coffee. We rode up in silence. Mike glanced at the security badges. Carla peeked at the abstract art in the hallway. Mom clutched her purse tighter than usual. I led them into the main conference room. Floor-to-ceiling windows, skyline view, mahogany table. My assistant had already prepped everything. Coffee, pastries, folders with visitor badges clipped to the front. Have a seat, I said, gesturing. They sat. Then I stood at the head of the table. The same seat I'd quietly avoided at family gatherings for years. I wanted you to see this, I began, because it's part of who I am. Not to brag, not to rub it in, but because I realized something. They waited. For years, I let you define me by the version of myself that was easiest for you to handle. The screw-up. The disappointment. The guy who couldn't get his life together. I held up a copy of a tech magazine. My face was on the cover. But that wasn't true. And I think, deep down, you all knew it. You just preferred the narrative where I was beneath you, because it gave you permission to feel superior. Carla looked like she might cry. Mike looked down. Mama looked at me. Really looked. I had no idea, she whispered. None of us did. I know, I said. And honestly, that's what hurt the most. Not the jokes. Not the assumptions. The fact that no one ever asked. I sat down finally. I'm not here to punish you, I said again. But I needed you to see who I actually am, not the caricature you made me into. Carla wiped her eyes. I was jealous, she admitted. You seemed so content. I thought, how can he be happy delivering pizzas? But the truth was, I was miserable trying to keep up an image. And you were building something real. Mike nodded. Same. I thought if I mocked you first, I wouldn't have to deal with the fact that you were living on your own terms, and I wasn't. Mom didn't speak right away, but when she did, it surprised me. I knew you were gifted. From the time you were little, you taught yourself to code before high school. You rebuilt a whole computer from spare parts. She swallowed. But I didn't know how to parent that. I knew how to praise test scores and scholarships. I didn't know how to love a son who didn't follow the script. She looked down. So I made you small. Because that was easier than admitting I didn't understand you. I didn't expect that. Not from her. But I also didn't let it break me. I appreciate that, I said. And I want a relationship, but with honesty. With effort. And with respect. No more passive-aggressive jabs. No more jokes at my expense. They all nodded. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't clean. But it was a start. I walked them out, one by one. Mom hugged me at the door. Mike clapped my shoulder. Carla lingered and whispered, You've got more strength than all of us combined. I smiled. That night, I sat at my desk long after the cleaning crew left, looking out over the city. I felt calm. Not triumphant. Not smug. Just seen. And that was enough. The days that followed felt like walking into a new chapter, one I hadn't realized I'd been writing all along. Carla called the next morning. No small talk. Just said she'd enrolled her kids in public school, not out of defeat, but because she wanted to stop pretending. She said she'd started freelance copywriting again, something she'd quit years ago because Mike once told her it wasn't a real career. I'm just tired of faking it, Jack, she said. You made me realize how much energy I spent keeping up a lie. We talked for almost an hour. Mike reached out the day after. He asked if I could recommend someone to help him reorganize his practice, said he needed to rebuild from the ground up. No more shortcuts. No more pretending things were fine when they weren't. He even admitted he'd stopped taking new clients because the stress of living a lifestyle beyond his means was making him physically ill. And Mom surprised me the most. She showed up one afternoon with a casserole. Old habits, she said with a sheepish smile. You don't have to eat it. I let her in. She stood awkwardly in my kitchen, looking around like she was visiting her son for the first time. Really seeing the place. The framed articles, the clean lines, the home I'd built with my own 2 hands. It's beautiful, she said softly. I made tea. We sat. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small photo, one not in the envelope she'd given Dad. This one was of us. I was 6, holding a pizza box bigger than my torso. She was next to me, laughing, hand on my head. I've never shown this one to anyone, she said, because I didn't know how to explain how proud I was of you, even back then. I didn't say anything. I didn't trust my voice. I was wrong, Jack, she continued. I told myself that making fun of you was harmless, that you were strong enough to take it. But that was cowardice. I was scared you'd outgrow us, and you did. She slid the photo across the table. I hope one day you'll forgive me. But even if you don't, I want you to know. I finally see you. Something shifted in me then. Years of tension, of trying to prove my worth in silent sacrifices, finally broke. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't vindictive. I was just tired of carrying the weight of being misunderstood. I stood and hugged her, not out of obligation, but because for the first time, it felt like a real embrace. Not performance, not guilt, just a mother and son, finally speaking the same language. That weekend, I returned to the pizza shop for a delivery shift. Just one night. My coworkers welcomed me back like nothing had changed, because to them, nothing had. I was still Jack, the guy who helped stock soda, who fixed the register, who picked up extra routes when someone was sick. On my last delivery of the night, I pulled up to a small brick house, rang the doorbell. The man who answered was in his late 60s. He looked surprised. You're the CEO guy, right? I blinked. Excuse me. He held up his phone, showing me a local news article. Atlanta startup CEO quietly supported family for years while working pizza delivery job. I didn't even know the piece had gone live. He smiled. Good for you, son. World needs more people like that. I handed him the pizza. just doing my job. But in that moment, for the first time, I believed it. Not the job part. The worth part. I never expected closure to feel quiet. No grand gestures. No dramatic apologies shouted in the rain. Just a slow, steady reshaping of relationships that had once been held together by obligation and resentment. A month after the office meeting, we had our first family dinner where no one brought up the past in jest. No sarcastic digs. No backhanded compliments. Just laughter, real laughter, and stories. Mike brought dessert. Carla brought a bottle of wine she could actually afford. Mom brought my childhood laptop. Said she'd kept it in a box all these years. I opened it at the table, half expecting dust and disappointment. But inside was a note she'd taped to the keyboard. It read, "You always saw the world differently. I'm sorry I didn't try harder to see it with you." She didn't say anything while I read it. Just watched. I folded it quietly and put it in my pocket. That night, after everyone left, I sat in the driveway of my house, staring up at the stars like I used to when I was a kid. Back then, I thought success meant proving everyone wrong. Showing the world, showing them, that I mattered. Now I realize, real success isn't about being seen by others. It's about being known, truly known, by the people who matter. The family I have now, it's not the same one I started with. Not really. But that's okay. We're all learning how to be better. Mike checks in once a week, not to ask for anything, just to talk. Sometimes we meet for coffee. He finally asked what my company does and actually listened to the answer. Carla's building a small writing business. She sends me drafts sometimes, and I give honest feedback. No sugarcoating, no judgment. She says she finally feels like her life belongs to her again. And Mom, she's still Mom. Still overbearing. Still insists on making enough food to feed 30 people. But now, she hugs longer. She says, "Thank you" more. And sometimes, when she thinks I'm not looking, she brags about me to the neighbors like I'm the son she always meant to raise. Funny how that works. As for me, I kept delivering pizzas. Not full-time, of course, but just enough to stay grounded. There's something about showing up at someone's door with something simple and needed that reminds me who I really am. I'm not a cautionary tale. I'm not the failure they once joked about. I'm not even the secret millionaire they now admire. I'm just Jack, a guy who finally stopped explaining himself. A guy who let go of being the family scapegoat and, in doing so, gave everyone else a chance to grow, too. We still mess up, still fall into old patterns. But now, there's space for honesty, for apologies, for truth without cruelty. And that's worth more than anything money ever bought.